Well, it was key events and make a list week in our class, and this was an interesting exercise. Everyone seemed to believe that the creation and detonation of the atomic bomb was the event that had the greatest impact as a result of World War II. There were many discussions and trends to bear this out as well. Historically, the decision to drop and make the bomb was a very important one. Codenamed the Manhattan Project, the project was led with some support by the UK and Canada. It was developed, the bomb, between 1942 and 1946 under the leadership of Major General Leslie Groves of the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers. The project was first brought to the attention of FDR during the summer of 1939. FDR, who was known to have a very high regard for academic scholars, was given an audience with the prominent team of physicists Leo Szilard and Eugene Wigner. These men brought to FDR a letter that was carrying a message from the great Albert Einstein, and that message contained a warning of the development of, quote, extremely powerful bombs of a new type, end quote. The letter urged the U.S. President and the U.S. to stockpile uranium ore and support the research of the scientist Enrico Fermi, who was working on nuclear chain reactions inside of the United States. Well, needless to say, FDR followed up on this warning and created the National Defense Research Committee, which began the project. In the end, the project employed 130,000 people and cost $2 billion in the currency of that day. The project was located, spread out across the United States, UK, and Canada. The first device ever detonated was a test device at the Alamogordo Bombing and Gunnery Range in New Mexico on July 16, 1945, about 4 months after FDR's death. 2 bombs would be used in the weeks after that testing in the bombings of Hiroshima and Nagasaki, respectively. And these would be the first and last time these weapons would ever be used on human populations. The project functioned under a veil of secrecy, but Soviet spies did penetrate the program. So Stalin did know about the bomb and the project, and this is probably why they had access to the blueprint to make the bomb in the early 1950s. Importantly, Truman knew nothing about the program upon taking office. And if you read through the threads this week, there were some really good discussions about what Truman knew, what Truman didn't know, and the decision to make the bomb. I urge you all to read through those. Other discussions on the list, really great stuff this week. There was a broad agreement that the D-Day invasion or Operation Overlord and the creation of the UN was a pretty important event as a result of World War II. A few people mentioned the creation of the State of Israel, which is a very important event, even leading into the present day. I believe that was Eric and Frank. I was spending so much time reading this week, I couldn't keep all of the names straight. Who mentioned what? I even kept a chart myself, but then I lost track of it. But this was a very astute observation, those of you who put up the creation of the State of Israel. Also a few, I think John mentioned the rebuilding of Europe with the Marshall Plan, and I thought that was really important only because so much money went into the rebuilding of Europe So little money went into Asia. Kai and I think Daniel, and I think I might have seen it on one or two other lists. I apologize if I'm not getting it right. Mentioned the Soviet Union's choice to switch sides to the Allies after the breaking of the Molotov-Ribbentrop Pact as a significant event. And their discussion around that and the way they phrased that in their post was pretty interesting. So I would go in and read those. One of the best parts about discussions this week was the threads that followed the list. I posted a few videos, but moreover, again, I want to comment on your writing is increasingly improving, your ability to pick out gems, phrases, to ask questions of each other, really coming along. I spent a lot of time making comments this week. Hannah, Charles, James, Hannah in particular, seemed like she was all over just asking curious, leading questions. Zach, Carol, I just got off and she made a comment comparing the workforce to the military force, who was doing labor where, on which continent. It's excellent observation. All these insightful comments, sustaining discussion. I enjoyed reading the totality of your list and seeing the entire group's thinking. You demonstrated great depth of knowledge and understanding in your choices and your common choices, but your outlying choices, the choices that you didn't all agree on. We have a few weeks left, and I get sad at this time in the class because for me 8 weeks goes by too fast just as I'm really getting to know all of you. But I want you to review those remaining assignments that are posted. You need to turn them in. You're going to find the due dates are coming up rather rapidly. One this Friday the 27th with your Webliography due. Some of you have turned them in. If you have not, finish up that assignment, turn it in, and look at the next assignment. Always ask questions, send me an email, and I will look forward to reading your remaining posts and reading them next week.